Yeah, cool. I'm gonna mute everyone as well because it'll make it easier. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so start of a new week. A couple of nice trades this morning, actually. But yeah, it's always a bit of a funny place, isn't it? And it's like trying to judge whether the reversal is going to happen or whether it's going to, use the lowest liquidity again and pop lower and then higher or whatever it's going to do. I'll quickly run through the two. Well, I took more than two trades, but yeah, the two trades that worked today. So yeah, like basically I wasn't around here. This was a little bit too early for me. I wasn't really focusing or whatever, but the shorts from up here were obviously really clean. Tap into, sorry, let me go on a proper time frame. We tap into like this supply over here. We have like an internal change of character here, right? We take this high, we take this low, market comes back up, two supply, sells off down to the extreme, right? The reason I don't know, I mean, you all know that I normally don't use limits. Hold on one sec. But that one was like, I mean, it's the only place it can come from. If this low is going to hold, and I like the way the low formed. We ran all of this liquidity. We are in weekly demand. We are overdue for a pullback. All of this sort of stuff, right? Like if you look at, sorry, you can probably see that. If you look at like daily, if we look at daily, we've broken this structure here. We've tapped into like a large weekly range here, and like weekly buy to sell wicks here. So we could expect potentially a daily pullback if that starts completing. We've still got this strong high. We definitely have nicer demand levels like down in here as well. So I would probably expect like a run on this high into there to take out that to then continue to drop off potentially, but we'd have to be aware that we potentially broken 4H structure by that point as well. So, we can definitely still look for longs. Maybe we get a weekly pullback. There's liquidity up here. There's these levels up here that haven't been mitigated at all. And yeah, it would make sense. Like we've got a couple of things to think about right now, right? Either we see a continuous move to the upside, something like that, or we see like the completion of this daily structure, or like we could just see this come much lower into here. There's a few things to think about. Like with the weekly boss, we would at some point expect a weekly pullback, but yeah, until we start breaking like 4-hour structure, we can't really assume that that's what we're going to see. So yeah, that was that. Then if we go down onto like 4H again, we can see that over here we had like very minor change of character in here. Took this low, took this high. So yeah, we've got some form of bullish intent away from there at the moment. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how stuff plays out. But yeah, like this high level up here obviously never got mitigated, built these equal highs below it. So I'd be very interested if it comes up to here. Yeah, there's definitely still valid supply levels within the 4H structure, but it's just that now we've had daily boss, we can probably expect a run on a 4H level, something like that. If we start getting momentum to the upside, obviously we can already start seeing that this low isn't forming best. So it would suggest at the moment that we're probably going to see lower prices before we see higher prices, right? But yeah, 15M at the moment, we are a little bit stuck. I'll run through these trades in a minute, but yeah, we're a little bit stuck at the moment. Obviously this boss I don't love ones like this where it runs the high and then closes above, but for me it's still valid. So you know, we have a strong low here. It's formed well, all of this sort of stuff. We'll go back over to this one. But yeah, like as I was saying, I was chatting to Rushab a fair bit over the weekend about some of his sort of Asia stuff, things like that. And it was quite interesting, to be honest, because he was saying that, you know, you can, if you take Asia into context with structure, it tends to work out quite a lot, right? So here, what we've seen is bullish structure created, right? Asia low left intact, Asia high left intact. We then run Asia low. So the next thing we could start assuming is a continued move up to potentially take out the high, right? Which we've still got like this high intact, which is still like that's sort of one of the major levels I'd want to see taken out if we're going to see a continued move, because right now this is starting to form like a bit of a complex pullback, right? So we could come up into some of these levels and see a continued move down. But yeah, something like that at the moment. Like right now, the way this is all forming, right? We've come down here, we had this internal chart, we had this larger bearish charge here, right? But now we've charged back, so that's why I was happy to take another long here. I took another one in here that I got break even on. But yeah, like it's that whole thing of once we run that, we're probably going to see a pullback. We take out equal lows here. There was a very nice 6 and level in there that I really liked. Came into flip charge, yeah, all that jazz, right? So yeah, just to like hit market execute down here somewhere. But yeah, so the way I would be looking at New York at the moment is let's see if we can take out this high, which looks fairly like a fairly reasonable assumption at the moment, especially with this new reaction that we're seeing. It's quite strong. And yeah, then see how we react to like, there's going to be something over here. I don't know what, I haven't really figured it out yet. But yeah, you can see there's definitely supply over there somewhere. Like this basically this wick up here, I think would be the level that I was looking at to see how we react to potentially trade a pullback to another long, or potentially take a short to take out these lows, something like that, right? That is how I would be looking at things right now. You got to scale in, brother. But yeah, does that make sense to everyone? Like how I would be looking at this? Yeah. Cool.
It's Rory.
Oh, hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I've just got Alexa in the background. Hold on. So yeah, great breakdown. Thank you. And the Asia session lows and highs is something that I've seen RSN dig into over the last kind of couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be more of a focus on that and these kind of setups?
I don't think it's necessarily going to change anything that we do, right?
Yeah.
But it's like we were chatting about it, right? And the stuff he sent me over was like, okay, this actually makes a lot of fucking sense.
Yeah.
If you really align it with how we look at things as well.
Yeah.
Because like he looks at things in a very similar manner anyway, right? He just uses like more Asia to look at how he thinks the day will progress.
Yeah, there was some beautiful setups just like this last week. I'm just case studying them at the moment, and they're all exact same, right? The 5-second chart, flip and dip, etc., etc.
Exactly, right. Like even if you look here, right, we're bearish, right?
Yeah.
Take Asia high out, and then we take. Then we get a big reaction because obviously we're at low prices and all of this sort of stuff. But you can then trade that down there, right? Because you've taken out a large pool of all of this sort of stuff, right? Like here. You know, there's stuff around this as well. We're bearish, so we can expect a continuation. right? Here we're bearish, we take low, we can expect a continuation. Here we stay contained within Asia. Then when we run the low, we run the high, right? Like
Yeah.
this is the stuff we need to, or well, I know he knows it, but I need to like try and get my head around it so I can try and explain it to you lot in a logical sense, rather than just saying, oh, here's some random shit about liquidity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sweet.
Like, because well, you all know that's not how I really like to see things. But this, I mean, this particular setup makes a lot of sense, right? We know, like as we spoke about on the Zoom yesterday, right? We need liquidity to take and to target into a trade, right? So here we have our large liquidity pool that we can take. Here we have our large liquidity pool that we can target, right? So, and it's pro structure, right? So we know that once we take the low, we're either going to get a continuation. So there's definitely like, you know, there's a hedge from here, most probably there's probably a hedge from here. You know, you can always trade both ways until you get like some real fucking commitment, because right now it's, you know, it's in one of those nasty little consolidatory ranges that will decide the direction of the market for probably the early part of this week. But yeah, and there's other stuff we're looking at, like how often highs and lows form on certain days of the week and things like this, right? Because it's like last week's a great example of it, right? We get like we're bearish overall, right? We get a push up Monday, Tuesday, and then the high of the week forms on Tuesday, and we just trade away from that all week, right? And that, like, fairly often you get highs or lows of the week. It's mad, mate. Like you get highs or lows of the weeks on Tuesdays. But yeah, like there's all stuff like this that's not really gonna change anything that we do, but it's just building those extra layers of confidence, you know, and hopefully getting us all into better setups more consistently, and not, you know, like looking back at this trade here, right? Is this now a good trade? Like thinking about the whole Asia stuff, not really, right? Because you're still contained within Asia, so really you need to, like, one thing we could potentially build on is we need to wait until Asia is initiated out of in one direction and then make a decision based on structure and all of this sort of stuff, right? Like we can start thinking about that. It's going to come lower from that. We did have a change of character there, you know. Might come lower from there, you know, thinking about that. Because we did have a change of character in there. We have had a pretty decent reaction. We've had a very nice reaction. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, does that make sense, right? Like it's like most times when you're trading within Asia, the trades aren't spectacular to start with, right? Like even over here, right? Yeah, we get some nice trades, and we can definitely run Asia low. But the best trade of the day really here comes from here, right? After we've taken out the Asian liquidity, right? You know, like here, once we take low, yeah, we get a nice trade. Once we take the high over here, we get a nice trade. Here, once we take the low, we get a nice continuation. Here, once we take the highs, we get nice shorts. Here again, once we take the highs, we get a nice short. All of that sort of stuff, right? So it's just trying to stack extra layers of confidences to keep us all out of the shit and in the good stuff. You know, that's the whole point, isn't it? Really? So yeah, anything. I mean, as I said when we first started the community, anything that I can see that will benefit all of us lot, yeah, like I will happily look into. Asia session 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. GMT, mate, is what we're looking at the moment. So it includes spread hours. Basically, the close of New York to the open of the very start of the European session. Haven't really looked at that, mate. We're just looking at his sort of liquidity, right? And to do with structure, like just more stuff like this, right? Here we're bearish. you know, and we've taken Asia low. So the likelihood is that we will not run Asia high, right? Whereas here we're bullish, sort of, and we take Asia low. So the theory is we would run Asia high, right? Like here we're bearish, we take Asia low. The theory is that we would not run this level, we would continue down. Here again, we're bearish, we take Asia high. So the theory would be that we take Asia low from there. Yeah. Basically, it's more stuff about which side it takes out, how the session is built and stuff like that as well. Like here, I know Rishad would look at this as a really good trade because Asia has taken out some form of liquidity over here, right? So then that's why we get the continuation from here, because the high has taken out liquidity and then broken to the downside. So we can say we're going to take the low first, if that makes sense. But yeah, like it's not, I don't want to go too into it because it's not like properly developed and rule-based logic yet. So I want to get to that point first. But it's just a little insight into sort of stuff that's going to be being introduced over the next week or two, I would assume. But yeah, does that make sense to everyone? Can you talk about today's BE? What, this one here? It's an all right trade, but we do have to be aware again, like, yeah, we've run liquidity into here, right? But we can sort of say we've already run this liquidity and reacted, and then we're seeing a sell-off, right? This point here has no liquidity in the leg. It's within, you know, like within these large equal lows, equal highs. So it's probably going to need to take one side there, and it comes back into the extreme. It's all right. It's in hindsight, it's not the best trade, definitely. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Hindsight's always 10 out of 10. So yeah. Yeah, does that make sense to everyone? So at the moment, like where we are, depending on obviously how the next sort of hour develops, like it's just looking at this range going, all right, well, we're in a big fucking range. Let's try and be a little bit more cautious until we now break this range, basically, because we may see a move down into here. Fuck knows, right? But the way it looks, I would say higher prices, but that's like 55, 45, something like that. It's not a big margin. And the other interesting thing is, like, if you look at daily over here, the way daily lows tend to form, they tend to like generate a low and then run it. So you might just see a little corrective pullback now and then a run down later on, like a react off like this or something like that, a run down and then that, or we might just see, yeah, a bit of a range there. I don't think there's not masses of news today, so there's nothing really to kick the market into gear. So yeah, we'll just have to see how New York develops. I mean, it's reasonably, we're at the lowest prices we've been all year. We've seen a bullish change of character. Yeah, that to me suggests that we'll see a pullback. But yeah, like that's it. But yeah, cool. All right. I'll get this one uploaded as quickly as I can. For the guys who haven't been here long or haven't really seen it. But yeah, I hope that makes sense to everyone. And yeah, have a good session. And can you talk about an entry for EU? Would we wait for inducement? Right now, I wouldn't really be looking at anything, mate, like, because we're just stuck in here, like right now, right? Unless we're in here or up here, right now, nothing looks particularly inviting until we now break out of this range, right? Because we need to see which side. Yeah, no, we haven't broken anything yet. We broke a high over here, right? Because this was the previous high. This high created this low. We wicked it, then we closed above, right? But we've now like had a bearish change of character. We've had another bearish change of character here, so we could see lower prices. But we're also trading from a bullish change of character and bullish structure, so we could see higher prices. Like it's these areas are very difficult to trade because they're generally consolidated, right? Like they generally just range until someone has accumulated enough orders to push the market one way or another, right? And we don't know which side that is right now because nothing is really giving us any commitment. You know, it's like, yeah, like we might, I mean, it might well just range for a day or two. You know, we had, you've got to take into context like where we are, right? We had this massive drop. What generally happens after a huge drop, we see larger ranges, right? Or drive, we see a larger range. Like drive, we see a larger range. You know, drop, we see a larger range. So it's just being aware of that and just not, yeah, trade the edges, not getting into too many trades. Just, yeah, take it a bit, trade the better stuff. Like we don't, remember, we really don't need to trade every day, although we can. If you're not certain of something, I would not stress about it. Like just sit out, you know, it's wait until the market is really showing us some form of commitment to either a continuation or a pullback. And right now I have no fucking idea which one that's going to be. So yeah, I'll just wait. Like now I probably won't trade this again until we take one side of the range. To be honest, there's nothing really now that interests me. There's nothing at the high that really interests me. You know, we've reacted off of this, and yeah, you could have gotten a trade there for sure. But yeah, this reacted to like some 15M supply over here. You know, we come back up here, there's probably an entry here somewhere. But yeah, it's one of those ones, mate. There's nothing massively concrete at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. It's a range. Yeah, that's about it, mate. So yeah, just wait and see how it develops. Early New York, and yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, that's it. Right. Cool. Should do this every hour. Yeah. Yeah, cool guys. Yeah, I'll get this uploaded quickly and take it easy. Speak to you later. Bye.